A woman adopted 3 black children 10 years ago. You won't believe how much they paid her. Hello, welcome. Enjoy the content, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any stories. The afternoon sun filtered through the lace curtains of Evelyn Carter's modest home in Oakwood, a small town in the heart of Missouri. At the age of 45, Evelyn sat in her favorite armchair, a piece of furniture worn by time but full of memories. Her hands, marked by years of hard work, gently leafed through a photo album. Each page she turned brought with it a wave of emotion, transporting her back to the day that changed her life forever. The soft music of Aretha Franklin filled the room, creating a nostalgic atmosphere that perfectly matched the moment. Evelyn stopped at one photo in particular. The image captured the exact moment she met Malik, Aaliyah, and Jamal for the first time at St. Mary's Orphanage in Kansas City. The children's eyes, full of hope and apprehension, looked straight into the camera, as if they could see through time and space, right into Evelyn's heart at that present moment. A soft smile formed on Evelyn's lips as she remembered that fateful day. The smell of disinfectant from the orphanage, the muffled sound of children playing in a distant room, the palpable nervousness in the air. She closed her eyes, letting herself be completely enveloped by the memory. In the flashback, Evelyn saw herself walking through the cold corridors of the orphanage, her heart beating hard against her chest. The social worker, a middle-aged woman called Linda, was gently guiding her towards the visitors' room. "They're looking forward to meeting you, Mrs. Carter," Linda said with an encouraging smile. "But remember, they've been through a lot. It can take time for them to open up." When the door opened, Evelyn saw 3 pairs of curious eyes turned towards her. Malik, the eldest at 10, was standing as if ready to protect his younger siblings. Aaliyah, aged 9, was holding the hand of Jamal, only 5, who was partially hidden behind her. Evelyn felt a lump in her throat, but took a deep breath and entered the room with a warm smile. "Hello?" she said softly, kneeling down so that she was at the children's height. "My name is Evelyn. I am so happy to finally meet you." There was a moment of tense silence before Malik stepped forward, still wary, but brave. "Hi," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm Malik. This is Aaliyah and Jamal." Evelyn smiled, feeling her heart expand with love for these 3 brave souls. "It's a pleasure to meet you. I know it must be scary to meet a stranger, but I want you to know that I'm here to offer you a home full of love, security, and support." Little by little, the children began to open up. Jamal was the first to approach, attracted by the kindness in Evelyn's eyes. He reached out his small hand, timidly touching her arm. "Are you going to be our new mommy?" he asked, his voice full of hope and fear at the same time. Evelyn felt tears forming in her eyes. "If you accept me, yes, I'd love to be your mother," she replied, her voice laced with emotion. At that moment, something changed in the room. Aaliyah stepped forward, her eyes shining with restrained tears. "Do you promise you'll love us? Even if we're different from you?" Evelyn's heart broke and filled with determination at the same time. She stretched out her arms, enveloping Aaliyah in a gentle hug. "I promise to love you with all my heart, no matter what. Our differences are what make us special, and together we'll make a wonderful family." Malik, watching the scene, finally let his guard down. He approached, joining in the hug with Jamal. In that collective embrace, a family was born, united not by blood, but by love and the promise of a future together. Back in the present, Evelyn opened her eyes, returning to the reality of her living room. She stood up, walking over to the window to look out over the yard. Outside, Malik, now 15, was playing basketball with Aaliyah, 14, while Jamal, 10, was drawing on the grass. Evelyn smiled, her heart overflowing with love and gratitude. The last 5 years had not been easy. They had faced prying eyes, mean comments, and financial challenges. but each obstacle only strengthened the bond between them. Watching her children playing carefree in the backyard, Evelyn knew she had made the right choice that day at the orphanage. They were an unconventional family, but a family full of love, respect, and mutual understanding. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Evelyn made a silent promise to herself and her children. No matter what the future held, they would face it together, as the family they were meant to be. On the basketball court at Oakwood Community Park, the rhythmic sound of a bouncing ball echoed in the morning air. Malik, now 15, moved with grace and determination, his eyes fixed on the basket. With a powerful leap, he launched the ball, which went through the hoop with a satisfying swoosh. A smile lit up his face, but it soon disappeared, replaced by an expression of concern. Malik knew that his dream of becoming a professional basketball player was more than just a personal ambition. It was a chance to change the lives of his adopted family, especially Evelyn, who had sacrificed so much for him and his siblings. As he continued his solitary training, his mind wandered to the bills piled up on the kitchen table and Evelyn's tired look after another double shift at the local hospital. After his workout, Malik walked home, past Oakwood's Main Street. His eyes were drawn to a colorful poster in the window of Johnson's sporting goods store. "Elite Basketball Camp, your chance to shine," it announced in large letters. Malik's heart raced as he read the details. It was an incredible opportunity: college coaches, professional scouts, and the chance to win a scholarship. But his excitement soon turned to dismay when he saw the price of the application. It was more than Evelyn earned in a month. Malik felt the weight of his financial reality fall on his shoulders. How could he ask Evelyn to make yet another sacrifice? That evening at dinner, Evelyn noticed Malik's unusual quietness. "Is everything all right, darling?" she asked, her voice full of maternal concern. Malik hesitated, but then shared about the camp. "It's a great opportunity, Mom," he said, his voice mixing excitement and resignation. "But it's too expensive. I understand we can't afford it." Evelyn was silent for a moment, her heart breaking to see her son's dream so close, yet so far away. Then an idea began to form in her mind. "Don't give up yet, Malik," she said, determination shining in her eyes. "We'll find a way." Over the next few days, Evelyn worked tirelessly. She talked to neighbors, co-workers, and members of the local church. She created flyers, made phone calls, and even started an online fundraising campaign. One evening, she brought the community together at the Oakwood Community Center. The hall was packed, with familiar faces and strangers curious to know why they had been summoned. Evelyn took to the makeshift stage, her nervousness visible, but her voice firm. "Good evening, everyone," she began. "I'm here tonight to talk about dreams, about the dream of a young man many of you know, my son, Malik." She told Malik's story, from the day she adopted him to his tireless training on the basketball court. She talked about his talent, his dedication, and his desire to give back to the community that took him in. "Malik has the chance to take part in a camp that could change his life," Evelyn continued, her voice laced with emotion. "But we need the help of all of you to make it possible." The silence that followed was broken by a voice from the back of the room. It was Mr. Johnson, the owner of the sporting goods store. "Count on me for uniforms and equipment," he said, standing up. Soon, other voices joined in. The owner of the local bakery offered to organize a bake sale. The town mechanic pledged to donate part of his next month's profits. One by one, the community members stood up, offering what they could. Some pledged money, others offered services or fundraising ideas. The air in the room was filled with emotion and solidarity. Malik, who was sitting quietly in the corner, felt tears streaming down his face. He had never felt so loved and supported. At that moment, he made a silent promise to himself and his community. He would do his best, not just for his dream, but for everyone who believed in him. In the weeks that followed, Oakwood was transformed. Bake sales, car washes, and even a small basketball tournament were organized. Evelyn's online campaign went viral, attracting donations from neighboring towns, and even from some former residents who had moved away. The spirit of togetherness was palpable. People who barely knew each other were working side by side, united by the desire to see one of their young people succeed. For many, Malik represented more than just a boy with a basketball dream. He was a symbol of hope and possibility for the whole community. Finally, after weeks of collective effort, Evelyn gathered the family in the living room. With tears in her eyes, she handed Malik an envelope. "We did it, darling," she said softly. "The community has come together. You're going to camp." Malik opened the envelope with trembling hands, hardly believing his eyes. It wasn't just the registration fee. There was extra for equipment, travel, and even a little savings for the future. That night, as the Carter family embraced, celebrating not just the realization of a dream, but the power of love and community, Malik understood that his success was no longer just about him. It was about giving back, about uplifting everyone around him. With a heart full of gratitude and renewed determination, Malik prepared himself for the journey ahead. Basketball camp was just the beginning. He was ready to embrace his future, carrying with him the hopes and dreams of an entire community. In the cozy bedroom on the second floor of the Carter's house, Aaliyah, now 14, sat in front of a blank canvas. Her fingers played nervously with the brush, while her eyes roamed the walls covered in sketches and unfinished paintings. Each work was a window into her soul, revealing fragments of her journey as a young African-American girl in a foster family. Aaliyah took a deep breath, dipping her brush into a vibrant shade of blue. With hesitant movements at first, she began to bring the canvas to life. Gradually, her brushstrokes gained confidence, and a scene began to take shape. A portrait of her family, not as others saw them, but as she felt them. As she worked, Aaliyah couldn't help thinking about the upcoming art exhibition at Oakwood High School. The thought of exhibiting her work to the whole school filled her with a mixture of excitement and dread. She knew that her art was personal, an expression of her unique experiences. But what if no one understood? What if her paintings were met with indifference, or worse, criticism? Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock on the door. Evelyn entered, carrying a tray of freshly baked cookies and hot chocolate. "How's it going, dear?" she asked, placing the tray on the bedside table. Aaliyah hesitated, her brush hovering over the canvas. "I don't know, Mom," she admitted. "What if no one likes it? What if they think it's weird?" Evelyn sat on the edge of the bed, intently watching the painting in progress. "Aaliyah," she began softly, "your art is an extension of who you are. It's brave, honest, and beautiful, just like you." Evelyn's words touched something deep within Aaliyah. Tears began to form in her eyes as she put the brush away. "Sometimes I feel so different from everyone else at school," she confessed, "like no one can really understand me." Evelyn wrapped Aaliyah in a tight hug. "Being different isn't a bad thing, my love. It's what makes you special. Your art can be a bridge, a way of showing others how you see the world." Inspired by her mother's words, Aaliyah decided to embark on an ambitious project. She would create a series of paintings that would tell her story, the journey of a young black girl in a foster family, navigating a world that didn't always understand her. In the weeks that followed, Aaliyah worked tirelessly. Each painting was a piece of a larger puzzle, revealing layers of her identity, her fears and her hopes. There were moments of doubt, nights when she wanted to give up, but each morning she returned to her canvas with renewed determination. Finally, the day of the art exhibition at school arrived. Her heart racing, Aaliyah helped set up her works in the makeshift gallery in the school gym. Each painting was a window into her soul, on display for all to see. When the doors opened and the visitors started pouring in, Aaliyah felt the urge to hide. But then she saw Evelyn, Malik and Jamal entering, their faces full of pride and love. This gave her the courage to stay and face the public's reactions. To her surprise, people didn't just look at her paintings. They stopped, gazed, and were often moved. Aaliyah heard whispers of admiration and saw tears in the eyes of some visitors. One of her teachers, Mrs. Anderson, approached with watery eyes. "Aaliyah," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Your art is powerful. You made us see through your eyes, feel through your heart. That's a rare gift." Other students, some whom Aliyah barely knew, came up to share how her paintings had touched them. One classmate, Tyler, confessed, "I never really thought about what it must be like to be in your position. Her art made me see things in a totally different way." Aliyah's exhibition became more than just an art show. It became a catalyst for important conversations about diversity, identity, and acceptance. Students and teachers gathered around her paintings, discussing experiences, sharing stories, and most importantly, listening to each other. For Aliyah, it was a revelation. Her art, which she feared no one would understand, was creating bridges between people from different backgrounds and experiences. She realized that by sharing her truth through her art, she was not only freeing herself from her own fears, but also helping others to understand and accept differences. At the end of the exhibition, Aliyah was exhausted, but deeply satisfied. She looked at Evelyn, who hugged her tightly. "I'm so proud of you, my brave artist," Evelyn whispered. That night, lying in her bed, Aliyah reflected on the journey that had taken her there. She understood that her art wasn't just for her. It was a voice for those who might not be able to express themselves, a mirror for society, and an invitation for empathy and understanding. With a smile, Aliyah fell asleep, dreaming of the new stories she would paint, the conversations she would start, and the changes she could inspire through her art. She had found her voice, and with it, the power to touch hearts and open minds. On a sunny fall morning, Jamal, the youngest of the Carter family, at the age of 10, walked hesitantly through the halls of Oakwood Elementary School. His eyes, always alert, watched every movement around him, as if he expected something to happen at any moment. And unfortunately, his worries were not unfounded. "Hey, foster kid," a mocking voice echoed down the corridor. Jamal felt his heart race, immediately recognizing the tone of Billy Thompson, one of the school bullies. "Has your mom finally realized that you don't suit her?" Jamal lowered his head, trying to ignore the laughter that followed. He clutched his books to his chest, as if they could protect him from the cruel words. It wasn't the first time he'd faced comments like that, and he knew it wouldn't be the last. That afternoon, Jamal entered the house quietly, hoping to avoid questions. But Evelyn, with her maternal sixth sense, immediately noticed that something was wrong. She found Jamal curled up on his bed, hugging his favorite teddy bear. "Honey, what happened?" Evelyn asked softly, sitting down next to him. Jamal hesitated, but Evelyn's loving gaze encouraged him. They said I don't suit you, Mom," he whispered, tears starting to run down his cheeks. "That I'm different." Evelyn felt her heart break. She pulled Jamal into a tight hug, letting him cry on her shoulder. "Oh, my love," she murmured, stroking his curly hair. "Being different isn't a bad thing. It's what makes you special." Determined to help her son, Evelyn began researching ways to deal with bullying and promote acceptance at school. It was then that she discovered a local support group called Colors of Love, dedicated to multiracial adoptive families. Carefully, Evelyn presented the idea to Jamal. "What if you met other children who have families like ours?" she suggested. "Maybe that could help you feel less alone." Jamal, although hesitant at first, agreed to give it a try. At the group's first meeting, he was surprised to see so many families that looked like his. Children of all colors, with parents of different races, shared stories similar to his own. As the weeks went by, Jamal began to flourish in the group. He made friends with Tyler, an Asian boy adopted by white parents, and Zoe, a white girl with adopted African-American siblings. Together, they shared their experiences, fears, and hopes. In one of the sessions, the group leader, Ms. Martinez, proposed an idea. "How about you share your stories at school? Sometimes fear and prejudice come from a lack of understanding." The idea scared Jamal at first, but seeing the enthusiasm of his new friends, he felt a spark of courage ignite in his chest. Weeks of preparation had led to this moment. Jamal was standing backstage in the school auditorium, his heart beating so loudly that he was sure everyone could hear it. Evelyn, Malik, and Alia were in the front row, their faces full of pride and encouragement. When it was his turn, Jamal took to the stage with trembling steps. He looked at the audience, saw the curious faces of his classmates and teachers, and for a moment he thought about running away. But then his eyes met Evelyn's, and he found the strength he needed. "My name is Jamal Carter," he began, his voice gaining confidence with each word. "And this is my story." Jamal spoke about being adopted, about his family's unconditional love, and about how differences can bring people together rather than tear them apart. He shared funny moments and difficult ones, painting an honest and moving picture of his life. As he spoke, Jamal noticed something surprising. His colleagues were listening, really listening. He saw tears in the eyes of some teachers and thoughtful expressions on the faces of children who had previously teased him. When Jamal finished his speech, there was a moment of silence. Then slowly, the auditorium erupted in applause. His friends from the Colors of Love group rushed to hug him, followed by Evelyn and her siblings. Over the next few days, Jamal noticed a change at school. Children who had previously avoided him now came to ask questions, genuinely interested in his story. Even Billy Thompson, the bully, came to apologize, admitting that he had never thought about how his words could hurt. Jamal's courage not only transformed his own school experience, but also opened doors to important conversations about diversity, acceptance, and the true meaning of family. He realized that his voice, no matter how small it seemed, had the power to make a big difference. At night, as Evelyn put him to bed, Jamal smiled, feeling truly at peace for the first time in a long time. "Mom," he said softly, "I think I finally understand what you mean about being special." Evelyn kissed his forehead, her eyes shining with pride. "You've always been special, my love. Now the whole world can see that too." With this new sense of belonging and purpose, Jamal fell asleep, dreaming of a future where all children could feel accepted and loved, regardless of their differences. The sun had barely risen over Oakwood when Evelyn Carter woke up, her heart full of anticipation. Today was the day of the big celebration at Oakwood Community Park, an event she and her children had been planning for weeks. It was more than just a party. It was an opportunity to thank the community that had embraced and supported them at so many crucial moments. Evelyn went downstairs to find Malik already awake, organizing posters and banners in the living room. Alia was in the kitchen, preparing snack baskets for the volunteers, while Jamal was arranging colorful balloons. "Good morning, my loves," Evelyn smiled, her chest filling with pride at seeing her children so involved. "Ready for the big day?" In the park, the transformation was already underway. Volunteers of all ages and backgrounds were working side by side, setting up stalls, organizing tables, and decorating the space. Mr. Johnson, from the sporting goods store, arrived with boxes of donated equipment for the recreational activities. Mrs. Martinez, from the Colors of Love group, coordinated a group that set up an interactive mural where people could share messages of gratitude. Evelyn watched everything with a mixture of nervousness and excitement. She knew that this event was more than a celebration. It was a testament to the power of community and the love that transcends differences. As the sun rose in the sky, the park began to fill with life. Families arrived with picnic baskets, children ran excitedly to the activities, and the air was filled with laughter and lively conversation. Malik organized a friendly basketball tournament, including players of all ages. Alia set up an art space where children and adults could create together, their paintings expressing what the community meant to them. Jamal, overcoming his shyness, led a storytelling group, sharing tales that celebrated diversity and acceptance. In the center of the park, a small stage was set up. Throughout the day, members of the community came up to share stories, sing, and express their gratitude. Pastor Johnson, from the local church, spoke about how the Carter family had inspired many to open their hearts to diversity. The principal of Jamal's school praised the boy's courage and how his story had transformed the school environment. One of the most moving moments came when Mr. Thompson, Billy's father, Jamal's former bully, took the stage. With tears in his eyes, he thanked the Carter family for teaching him and his son a valuable lesson about empathy and acceptance. As the sun began to set, tinting the sky in shades of gold and pink, Evelyn took to the stage. Looking out at the gathered crowd, she felt a wave of emotion wash over her. "Dear friends and neighbors," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "When I adopted Malik, Aliyah, and Jamal, I knew we would face challenges. What I didn't know was that we would find a much bigger family. All of you." Evelyn spoke about the difficult times, but also about the incredible kindness and support they had received. She mentioned Malik's basketball camp, Aliyah's art exhibition, and Jamal's courage at school. "Each and every one of you has been part of our journey," she continued. "You have shown us that love knows no color, that community can overcome any obstacle, and that together we are stronger." As Evelyn spoke, Malik, Aliyah, and Jamal took to the stage, each carrying a box. To Evelyn's surprise, they started handing out small gifts to the crowd, handmade souvenirs symbolizing their gratitude. The celebration continued well into the night, with music, dancing, and more stories shared. The stars shone brightly in the sky, witnessing a moment of unity and love that would remain in the memory of everyone present forever. As the Carter family walked back home, exhausted but with full hearts, Evelyn knew that they had created something special, not just for themselves, but for the entire Oakwood community. It was a new chapter in their lives, a chapter of gratitude, acceptance, and unconditional love. The celebration in Oakwood Community Park was in full swing, with laughter and music filling the afternoon air. Evelyn Carter watched with pride as her children interacted with the local residents, each of them shining in their own unique way. It was then that she noticed a familiar figure approaching, making her heart skip a beat. "Robert?" Evelyn murmured, recognizing her former co-worker from the hospital. Robert Anderson, a middle-aged man with a serious countenance, stopped in front of her. "Hello, Evelyn," he said, his cold tone contrasting with the warm atmosphere around him. "I see you've really moved on with all this." Robert's comment didn't go unnoticed by those nearby. Some neighbors cast curious glances, while others approached discreetly, sensing the change in the air. Evelyn took a deep breath, keeping her composure. "Robert, this is a day of celebration. We're here to thank the community that supported us." Robert gave a dry laugh. "Community? Evelyn, don't you think you're going too far? Adopting these children? Changing your whole life? That's not natural." A tense silence fell over the surrounding group. Evelyn felt a mixture of anger and hurt, but before she could reply, a firm voice sounded behind her. "Excuse me, sir." Malik stepped forward, his eyes shining with determination. "What exactly do you mean by it's not natural?" Aliyah joined her brother, her voice calm but resolute. "Our family may be unconventional, but the love we share is as real as any other." Jamal, the youngest, surprised everyone by positioning himself between Evelyn and Robert. "My mother taught us that family is about love, not about what we look like." Robert seemed momentarily speechless, confronted by the unity and maturity of the children. Realizing that this moment could turn into something bigger, Evelyn gently guided Robert to a more secluded spot, with her children following close behind. "Robert," Evelyn began, her voice firm but compassionate, "I know my decision may seem strange to some, but these children are my family. They have taught me more about love and courage than I ever imagined possible." She paused, looking at each of her children with pride. Maybe this is an opportunity for all of us to learn something about acceptance and understanding. Inspired by her children's courage, Evelyn decided to share something she had kept under wraps for a long time. "Actually, Robert, there is something that very few people know. When I was a child, I also faced discrimination." Her children's eyes widened, having never heard this part of their mother's story. Evelyn continued, her voice trembling slightly. "I grew up in a small town where being different wasn't accepted. My family was one of the few immigrant families, and I often felt isolated and misunderstood." She looked directly at Robert. "That's why, when I had the chance to give these wonderful children a home, I didn't hesitate. I knew what it was like to feel different, and I wanted to create a space where everyone could be accepted and loved for who they are. The silence that followed was profound. Robert seemed to be processing everything he had heard, his face a mixture of conflicting emotions. Finally, he spoke, his voice softer than before. I didn't know, Evelyn. I guess I never stopped to think about how things could be from your point of view, or from the point of view of those children. Malik, sensing a change in the air, held out his hand to Robert. Sometimes all we need is a chance to understand each other better. As the conversation continued, the initial tension began to dissipate. Robert asked questions, genuinely interested in understanding more about the Carter family's journey. Evelyn and the children shared stories, both joyful and challenging, painting a vivid picture of their life together. By the end of the conversation, Robert seemed transformed. Evelyn, children, I owe you an apology. My ignorance led me to make unfair judgments. Thank you for opening my eyes. As they walked back to the celebration, Evelyn hugged her children, feeling closer to them than ever. I'm so proud of you, she said, tears shining in her eyes. You showed incredible strength and maturity today. Jamal looked at his mother, curious. Why haven't you told us about your past before, Mom? Evelyn smiled softly. Sometimes it's hard to talk about our pain. But you've taught me that sharing our stories can be powerful. It can change hearts and minds. As they rejoined the party, now with a more understanding Robert by their side, the Carter family felt that they had not only overcome a challenge, but also strengthened their bond even further. They had turned a moment of conflict into an opportunity for growth and understanding, not just for themselves, but for the whole community. Night fell over Oakwood, the stars beginning to dot the darkened sky. The celebration in the park had ended, leaving behind warm memories and a renewed sense of community togetherness. The Carter family returned home, exhausted but with full hearts. Evelyn watched her children moving around the house, each lost in their own thoughts. The meeting with Robert and the revelations that followed seemed to have awakened a latent curiosity in them. She knew it was time to open her heart completely. Children, Evelyn called softly, come here. I think we have a lot to talk about. Malik, Aliyah, and Jamal gathered in the living room, their faces a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Evelyn sat in her favorite armchair, while the children settled on the sofa in front of her. Today, you've heard a little about my past, Evelyn began, her voice soft but firm. But there's a lot more I've never shared with you. I think the time has come to tell you the whole story. Evelyn took a deep breath, closing her eyes for a moment to gather her courage. When she opened them again, she saw 3 pairs of attentive eyes fixed on her. I was born in a small town called Millbrook, upstate, she began. My parents were immigrants, the only ones in town at the time. From the beginning, we were seen as different, as outsiders. Evelyn described the challenges she faced at school, the cruel teasing, the suspicious looks from adults. She talked about how isolated she felt, as if she didn't belong anywhere. There were days when I wanted to disappear, she admitted, her voice shaking slightly. But my parents always reminded me that I was strong, that our difference was our strength. As Evelyn spoke, she noticed her children's reactions. Malik clenched his fists, as if to fight the ghosts of his mother's past. Aliyah had silent tears streaming down her face, her empathy evident in every expression. Jamal leaned forward, absorbing every word with intensity. That's why I decided to become a nurse, Evelyn continued. I wanted to help people, to show that care and compassion transcend any difference. Evelyn then got to the part of the story her children were most eager to hear, the decision to adopt them. When I met the 3 of you, she said, looking at each one with love, I saw in your eyes the same fear and hope I felt as a child. I knew I could offer you not just a home, but understanding. I understood what it was like to feel different, and I wanted to create a space where you could be exactly who you are. Evelyn's words seemed to fill the room, creating an even stronger bond between them. Malik was the first to speak. Mom, he said, his voice laced with emotion, I never knew, I never imagined you'd been through so much." Aaliyah stood up and hugged Evelyn. "Thank you for telling us," she whispered, "for trusting us with your story." Jamal, the youngest but often the most perceptive, asked, "Is that why you always encourage us to be ourselves? Because you know what it's like to have to hide?" Evelyn nodded, tears in her eyes. "Exactly, my love. I want you to have what I didn't. The freedom to be authentic, without fear." At that moment, something changed in the Carter family dynamic. What had once been love and trust turned into a deeper understanding, a connection based on shared experiences and overcoming. Malik stood up, his posture determined. "Mom, I promise I will always fight injustice, not just for us, but for everyone who feels different." Aaliyah, drying her tears, added, "And I will use my art to show the beauty of diversity so that other people can see the world as we do." Jamal, not wanting to be left behind, declared, "I'm going to tell our stories, Mom, so that no one else feels alone like you did." Evelyn looked at her children, her heart overflowing with love and pride. She knew that by sharing her past, she had not only strengthened family ties, but had also planted seeds of empathy and understanding that would flourish for generations. "You are my strength," Evelyn said, pulling the three of them into a collective hug. "Together we can face anything. Our love, our unity, is our greatest strength." As the family remained embraced, each reflecting on the night's revelations, they knew they had reached a new level of understanding and connection. Evelyn's past, once hidden, now became an integral part of their story, a story of overcoming, love, and the beauty of being different. The rising sun painted the Oakwood sky in soft shades of pink and orange when Evelyn woke up, her mind filled with the conversations of the night before. The revelations shared with her children had awakened in her a renewed desire to make a difference, not just in her family, but in the whole community. As she prepared breakfast, an idea began to form in her mind. It was time to go one step further, to turn her experiences and those of her children into something tangible that could positively impact Oakwood. When Malik, Aaliyah, and Jamal came down for breakfast, they found Evelyn sitting at the kitchen table, surrounded by papers and with a determined glint in her eyes. "Good morning, my loves," Evelyn smiled, inviting them to sit down. "I have something important to share with you." The three of them looked at each other curiously before settling around the table. Evelyn took a deep breath before beginning. "After our conversation last night, I realized that we have a unique opportunity. Our story, our experiences, they can make a difference to other people's lives." She then presented her idea, a community project celebrating diversity in Oakwood, a giant mural in the center of town where each member of the community could contribute a piece that represented their identity and experiences. Aaliyah's eyes immediately lit up. "Mom, that's amazing! I could help design the mural and coordinate the local artists." Malik, ever practical, was already thinking about the logistics. "We could organize workshops for people to create their pieces. I can help coordinate the volunteers." Jamal, the youngest but no less enthusiastic, suggested, "What if we made a series of stories to accompany the mural? We could record people talking about their pieces." Evelyn smiled, touched by her children's enthusiasm. "That's exactly what I was thinking. This project won't just be about us, but about the whole of Oakwood, a celebration of who we are, individually and as a community." In the weeks that followed, the Carter family worked tirelessly to turn the idea into reality. Evelyn used her contacts at the hospital and in the community to get support and resources. Malik organized meetings with community leaders and local businesses for sponsorship. Aaliyah created impressive sketches of the mural, incorporating elements that represented the diversity of Oakwood. Jamal, with his contagious energy, spread the word among his schoolmates and their families. The project quickly took on a life of its own. Oakwood's town hall provided a prominent space in the town center for the mural. Local artists offered to help with the execution. Schools organized field trips so that students could contribute their own pieces. Finally, the big day arrived. The center of Oakwood was unrecognizable, transformed into an open-air art studio. Tents were set up with tables full of paints, brushes, clay, and other artistic materials. People of all ages, races and backgrounds gathered, eager to leave their mark on the mural. Evelyn watched with tears in her eyes as families worked together on their pieces. She saw children helping the elderly, teenagers collaborating with adults, barriers of age and origin disappearing in the face of the common goal. Malik coordinated the volunteers efficiently, ensuring that everyone had what they needed. Aliyah moved between the groups, offering artistic guidance and words of encouragement. Jamal, with a borrowed microphone and camera, interviewed the participants, capturing their stories with infectious enthusiasm. Throughout the day, touching stories emerged. An elderly woman created a piece representing her journey as an immigrant decades ago. An interracial couple painted a heart with the colors of their national flags intertwined. A group of teenagers created a mosaic representing LGBTQ+ acceptance. A particularly moving moment came when Robert, Evelyn's former colleague, who had caused tension at the previous celebration, showed up with his family. He approached Evelyn, visibly nervous. "Evelyn," he began, "I wanted to thank you. After our conversation, I started to rethink a lot of things. This project is incredible. It shows the true spirit of community." Evelyn smiled, holding out her hand to Robert. "I'm glad you're here. Every voice, every story, is important in this mural." As the sun began to set, the mural took shape. It was an explosion of colors, shapes, and textures, each piece telling a unique story, but all coming together to form a larger image of unity and acceptance. Evelyn gathered her family in front of the almost complete mural. "Look what you've helped create," she said, her voice filled with pride. "It's not just a mural. It's a symbol of hope, of change." Malik nodded, his eyes shining. "It's like all of Oakwood is here, Mom. All our stories, together." Aliyah, with paint on her hands and a beaming smile, added, "It's more beautiful than I could have imagined. Each piece is unique, but together they form something incredible." Jamal, holding his camera, declared with conviction, "And now we have all these stories recorded. We can share them with everyone." As night fell over Oakwood, lights were switched on around the mural, illuminating it in all its glory. The community gathered to admire the finished work, many with tears in their eyes as they saw their contributions as part of something bigger. Evelyn, surrounded by her children and the community they had helped to bring together, felt a wave of emotion wash over her. This mural was more than art. It was a testament to the power of acceptance, understanding, and love. "This is just the beginning," she thought, looking at her children with pride. Together, they had started something transformative in Oakwood. A new chapter was beginning, not just for the Carter family, but for the entire community. A chapter of unity, celebration of diversity, and mutual understanding. The day dawned in Oakwood with a palpable energy in the air. It was the day of the official unveiling of the community mural, and the whole town seemed to vibrate with anticipation. The streets leading to the town center were decorated with colorful banners and balloons, creating a festive lead-up to the big event. Evelyn woke up early, her heart pounding with a mixture of nervousness and excitement. She found Malik, Aliyah, and Jamal already on their feet, each busy with the final preparations. The pride she felt for her children was almost tangible. As the morning progressed, people from all over Oakwood began to gather in the town center. Families arrived with picnic baskets. The elderly were accompanied by attentive carers, and groups of teenagers gathered, all eager to see the end result of the project that had brought the community together. The mayor of Oakwood, a middle-aged woman called Eleanor Wright, arrived early to inspect the final preparations. She smiled warmly at Evelyn and her family. "You've done something truly special here," she said, her voice full of admiration. By midday, a sizable crowd had formed in front of the mural, still covered by a large tarpaulin. Evelyn climbed onto the small stage set up for the occasion, with Malik, Aliyah, and Jamal at her side. She looked out over the crowd, recognizing familiar and new faces, all united by this moment. "Welcome, Oakwood," Evelyn began, her voice steady despite her nervousness. "A few weeks ago, this mural was just an idea, a dream to unite our community through art and stories. Today, thanks to each and every one of you, that dream has come true." She paused, letting her words sink in. This mural is not just a work of art. It's a testimony to who we are as a community. Every piece, every color, every shape tells a story. Our stories. Malik stepped forward, his posture confident. When we started this project, we didn't know exactly what to expect. But to see all of you coming together, sharing your experiences and creating something beautiful together, it showed the true spirit of Oakwood. Aaliyah, with tears in her eyes, added, "As an artist, I've always believed in the power of art to bring people together. But this mural is more than I could have dreamed of. It's a reflection of all of us, of our diversity and our unity." Jamal, the youngest but no less eloquent, concluded, "Every story I've heard during this project has taught me something new. I've learned that we all have something special to share, and when we come together, we create something incredible." With a nod from Evelyn, the canvas was slowly removed, revealing the mural in all its glory. A collective sigh of admiration went through the crowd. The mural was an explosion of colors and shapes, each section telling a unique story, but all coming together to form a larger image of community and acceptance. People pointed excitedly, acknowledging their own contributions and those of their neighbors. There was laughter, tears and hugs as the community absorbed the mural's visual and emotional impact. As people approached to examine the mural up close, stories began to be shared spontaneously. An elderly woman explained to a group of children the meaning behind her piece, which represented her journey as an immigrant. A young interracial couple proudly displayed their contribution, a symbol of love that transcends barriers. Jamal, true to his promise, moved through the crowd with his microphone, capturing these stories for posterity. His energy and enthusiasm were contagious, encouraging even the shyest to share their experiences. What no one expected was the immediate impact the mural would have on the dynamics of the community. People who barely knew each other started chatting animatedly, discovering unexpected connections through their stories shared on the mural. A particularly touching moment occurred when Robert, Evelyn's former colleague, approached her with tears in his eyes. "Evelyn," he said, his voice breaking, "I wanted you to know. This project has changed my perspective. It changed my life. Thank you for not giving up on me, for showing me a better way." As the day progressed, Evelyn found a moment to step back and observe everything from afar. She saw Malik chatting animatedly with a group of young athletes, discussing how they could use sport to promote inclusion. Aaliyah was surrounded by a diverse group of local artists, already planning future community projects. Jamal remained tireless, his enthusiasm infecting everyone around him. Evelyn felt a wave of emotion wash over her. This project had become so much more than she could ever have imagined. It wasn't just a mural. It was a catalyst for real change in Oakwood. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the mural, it became clear that this day marked not the end, but the beginning of something new in Oakwood. The mural had become a symbol of unity, a constant reminder of the power of community and the beauty of diversity. Evelyn gathered her family one last time in front of the mural. "Look what you've helped to create," she said, her voice full of pride and emotion. "It's not just a work of art, it's a promise, a commitment to a better future for everyone in Oakwood." As they embraced, with the happy murmur of the community in the background, Evelyn knew they had planted seeds of change that would continue to flourish for a long time to come. The mural was more than paint and canvas. It was the heart of Oakwood, beating with renewed hope and unity. Within weeks of the mural's unveiling, life in Oakwood had found a new rhythm. The project had left an indelible mark on the community, inspiring a series of initiatives for inclusion and cooperation. On a quiet Saturday afternoon, while the Carter family were relaxing at home, the doorbell rang. Evelyn opened the door and was surprised to see a familiar but long unseen face. "David?" she exclaimed, recognizing her old college friend. David Thompson, now a successful businessman, smiled warmly. "Evelyn, long time no see. I heard about the incredible work you and your family have been doing here at Oakwood. I've come in person to see." Sitting down in the living room, David explained the reason for his visit. "Evelyn, what you've done with the community mural, it's extraordinary. It's inspired me to do something more with the resources I have." He paused, looking at Malik, Aliyah, and Jamal, who were listening intently. "I'm organizing a foundation for talented young people from diverse communities. We want to offer scholarships to promising athletes and up-and-coming artists." Evelyn's eyes widened at the implication. David continued, "And I'd like to start here, with your family." David turned to Malik. "I've heard about your basketball talent. Our foundation would like to offer you a full scholarship, including specialized training and the chance to play in national tournaments." Malik was speechless, his eyes shining with excitement and disbelief. For Aliyah, David had another surprise. "Your work on the mural has caught the eye of some art curators. We'd like to offer you a scholarship to study at the School of Visual Arts in New York, one of the best in the country." Aliyah covered her mouth with her hands, tears of joy streaming down her face. Finally, David turned to Jamal. "And for our young storyteller, we have something special. We'd like you to lead a project against bullying in schools, using your communication skills to make a difference." Jamal jumped with excitement, already imagining the possibilities. Evelyn looked at her children, her heart overflowing with pride and gratitude. Each of them was being given an opportunity that could change their lives, opportunities she had never imagined possible. "David," she began, her voice laced with emotion, "this is unbelievable. I can't thank you enough." David raised his hand, smiling. "Don't thank me, Evelyn. What your family has done for this community, that's the real gift. We're just giving back some of the good you've spread." In the weeks that followed, the Carter household became a whirlwind of activity. Malik trained with renewed vigor, knowing that he now had a real chance of realizing his dream. Aliyah spent hours researching the art school, her eyes sparkling with the possibilities. Jamal was constantly scribbling down ideas for his anti-bullying project, determined to make a difference. Evelyn watched it all with a mixture of pride and nostalgia. She knew that these opportunities meant that her children would soon take flight, leaving the nest she had built with so much love. Upon hearing the news, the Oakwood community insisted on organizing a farewell ceremony for the young Carters. On the day of the event, the community center was packed. The mural, now a beloved symbol of the town, served as the backdrop for the celebration. One by one, Malik, Aliyah, and Jamal took to the stage to share their feelings and thank the community that had supported them. Malik spoke about how Oakwood's support had taught him the value of perseverance. Aliyah expressed how the community's acceptance had given her the courage to express her true identity through art. Jamal, with wisdom beyond his years, spoke about how Oakwood's stories had inspired him to become an agent of change. Finally, Evelyn took to the stage, looking out at the sea of familiar faces that had become her extended family. "When I adopted these 3 wonderful children," she began, her voice charged with emotion, "I expected to give them a home, love, and opportunities. What I didn't expect was how much they would give me in return, how much they would give all of us." She paused, looking lovingly at her children. "Malik, Aliyah, and Jamal are not just my children. They are Oakwood's children. Each of you has contributed to shaping them, to supporting them, to loving them. And now, as we embark on this new chapter in our lives, we take with us the love and lessons we have learned here." As the ceremony drew to a close, it became clear that this was not an end, but a new beginning. Malik, Aliyah, and Jamal were about to take the spirit of Oakwood out into the world, each in their own way. David Thompson, watching from afar, approached Evelyn. "You've created something extraordinary here, Evelyn," he said. "Not just a family, but a model for what a community can be." Evelyn smiled, tears in her eyes. "We created this together," she replied, looking out at the gathered community. "All of us." As the Carter family embraced under the mural that had started it all, Evelyn felt a deep sense of accomplishment. Her children were about to embark on incredible journeys, taking with them the lessons of love, acceptance, and community that they had learned at Oakwood. The mural behind them was no longer just a work of art. It was a living testament to the power of love, acceptance, and community. It was a symbol of how one unconventional family could inspire an entire city to become more inclusive, more compassionate. As the sun set over Oakwood, casting a golden glow over the mural and the gathered family, Evelyn knew that this wasn't the end of her story. It was just the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter full of promise, possibility, and the enduring power of family and community love. If you could add one piece to the Oakwood mural, representing your own journey of acceptance and overcoming, what would you paint and why? Leave your opinion in the comments. Thanks for watching. Comment below what you thought of this story and from which city you are watching us. Leave your like and subscribe to our channel so that together we can build a huge community that shares inspiring stories. Until next time.